Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler and today we have the Spyderco Astute. Move this out of the way. Alright, let's talk about this cool little knife here. So I got the Spyderco Astute and I thought it was going to be way larger than it was. I don't look at the specifications of the knife in the budget category as long as it's something that I know is going to be desirable. So I saw this in the picture, and in the picture on Blade HQ, this thing looks huge. It is nowhere near that size that I thought it was. So let's get into some specs, do some size comparisons, and then we'll talk about this cool little knife here. So first and foremost, the weight. 2.7 ounces, which is pretty cool. So it's coming in pretty light. Not quite bug out territory, but in the territory that you guys won't know that it's not in bug out territory, because if you guys can tell the difference between that and that by just sitting there, unless you're holding both in your hands, you guys are super skilled. Not trying to be anything other than killing time while I'm getting out one of my bits. I believe these, ooh, yeah, that's right. I didn't lock tie that pivot down. These are all T6 screws. Every single screw on here is T6. That kind of sucks. It is what it is. You know, you'd like to see a pivot screw at least be T8, but it's not, and that's okay. Let's make sure that little adjustment that I accidentally made. Yeah, so the blades, right. Next, let's get into the blade stock thickness. All right, so the blade stock thickness is coming in at 100 thousandths, which is very thin to start off with. And the behind the edge thickness is coming in at right around 10 thousandths. This is going to be a nice slicey little sumbitch. The width of this guy's coming in at a 0.4 of an inch or 400 thousandths, and the overall height including, well, so what's cool about this kind of weird shaped handle, if you will, is that the whole profile doesn't have something that sticks out. This is about 120 thousandths thick, or 1.2 inches. The profile, if you look at this versus the PM2, we can see here that the PM2 has this awkward profile, right? It's like super sleek and then boof. Cool sound effects. Had to edit that one in. This one, it just kind of like rides the line on through, which is pretty sweet. So you don't have anything awkward sticking up, no flipper tabs, nothing like that. The overall length coming in at just under 7 inches. The blade length coming in at just at 3 inches, and the cutting edge is just about 3 inches as well. There's no sharpening or finger choils down in the bottom there. It has G10 handles that we will talk about. I'm trying to follow a format, and I screwed that one up. That's all right. Let's go into some size comparisons. All right. What the there it is. All right, so here is the Dogma and the Darus. As you can see, this knife is about the same exact length as the Darus, plus or minus, maybe a 1/10 of an inch. And on the Dogma, you got maybe a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 of an inch in length. You're making up a lot for that in the blade on the Dogma. I'm just going to put that away like I'm reviewing the Dogma. Let's see the Rat Model 1 and the Rat Model 2. And as I said in many of my other videos, and I will continue to say, this thing, the reason that I compare so many knives is just so you guys can see maybe hopefully one knife that you're familiar with, so you have an idea of what each one is, right? So, you can take a look at it, get a feel for these things, and if you haven't seen 7 of the 8 knives, but you've seen one before and held one, it'll give you a better perspective. So as you can see, the Rat Model 1 is coming in at slightly longer, and obviously the Rat Model 2 is coming in at slightly longer. The Rat Model 1 is coming in at much larger than the Spyderco Astute. Let's get into the feldspars. We got our mini feldspar and our large feldspar. As if you can't see, it's really much dwarfed by the large feldspar, and the mini feldspar, it's about the same length and probably about the same cutting edge. Last but not least, compared to my PM2, and I don't have anything else to really compare it to ready with the sandwich. So you got 7 out of 8. So I was using this one in the previous videos. As you can see, much smaller than the PM2. Ironically, let's take a look at this blade length here. You have the same cutting edge as a PM2. We all know the PMs, they're not known for their cutting edge to overall length ratios, but they kind of fix that with the Astute. I mean, the Astute has the same exact cutting edge as a PM2 despite being severely smaller, which is interesting. Now let's get into some of these things. This is a 8CR13 MOV, and as I stated before, 8CR13 MOV, if you do a little bit of research, 8 means 0.8 carbon and 13 means 13% chromium. Now, chromium is the main factor when it comes to stainlessness. This isn't quite stainless, but it is right on the cusp there, so it is going to resist a little bit more corrosion than most that are under the 13 chromium mark. As we said before, these are T6 screws, and you know, the blade shape is built to slice. This knife is built to work. It is built to slice, and it's a super slicey blade. Out of all the blades that I got in this batch that I got in, it's super slicey. Pocket clip, you can go tip up, tip down, and ambidextrous, so you got that options all around, which is cool. You have a little lanyard hole right here, just because Spyderco does that with the lanyard tube, and I'm sure that'll be a pain in the ass to break down completely like all their other knives, but that's okay. It's not emphasized on anything, and that's what we like. Put it in there, whatever. You got stainless steel liners. These liners are not milled out. You really can't see in there, but they are not really milled out at all. So they could have alleviated some weight, and I think it would have been smart to do so, because in this territory, realistically, with these smaller knives, I would think that you want to compete with the bug out. Everybody uses the bug out at the 1.8 ounces or whatever it is to kind of set the tone for a knife of this size, and you could have done that. This knife was only 45 bucks, so I get it, but in the same token, next time do it. So the action on this guy. Once I got used to the small Spidey hole, and the only way to open it is to really push almost straight up, and it is super snappy, ridiculously snappy. With the Spidey flick, with the thumb flick, same thing, super snappy. It's not hard to access once you get used to it, but in the beginning it is a little bit different, and if you look at the Spidey holes, it's much smaller than, say, the PM2 or the PM3 or anything like that, the Mannix. So it's yeah, you'll get used to it though. Typical Spyderco clip, might want to throw an MXG or a Lynch on there. I'm not going to. I'm probably going to sell this knife when I'm done with it, but you might want to do that and create that deep carry. Otherwise, you got a ton of little knives sticking out. That's like 1/20th, not 1/20th, 20%, jackass, of the knife sticking out of your pocket, which is, it's kind of a little obnoxious for a knife this size. I would very much like to see some deep carry pocket clip. But now, if you were to put a deep carry pocket clip on there, it's going to raise this ramp right here up. Just noticing this now. And when I'm holding this, I feel the pocket clip, not really a hot spot, but I feel it. But I am wrapped around right here with my pinky. I can get all 4 fingers on here, and you got a nice thumb ramp going up here. No jimping, so it's okay. It's not slick. You're locked in pretty well here. But if you have the deep carry on there, it's going to come out, and you're going to wrap your hands like that around it, and I feel like that would actually create a hot spot. So that kind of sucks. It's on black G10. The G10 feels nice. It's, grippy enough. Not as grippy as the PM2, but take the PM2 at a 7 out of 10 for grippiness. This is probably at a 6, maybe a 6.5. Other things to really note about this knife. This knife was made in China, so expect what you expect out of Chinese when it comes to the Spydercos. Everything is recessed, so that's nice. It's got a nice sleek profile. It's kind of goofy looking, in my opinion. The aesthetics aren't really what, sell it for me. It's the fact that you can drop it and it still works. No, it's the snappiness when you raise it. I mean, this thing has a pretty high fidget factor. That is so satisfying to sit there and just thwop it. I mean, that's thwopping. That's thwopping good. Yeah, I've been saying a lot. I had a brain fart on this. It's a good knife. It's $45. Is it competing with the Civivis? Because that's what the $45 mark is getting you. I believe the Durus is coming in close to what, $55? So for $10 more, you can get the Durus. Still a really slicey knife. You got a little bit better ergonomics on the Durus, and the action on it's on bearings, so it's a little bit better. But you don't need that with this. Spyderco really doesn't do the bearing thing that often. This is on phosphor bronze washers, so the action's good enough. Overall thoughts on this knife. For $45 and an entry-level Spyderco, you get a lot for your bang for your buck on this. The Tenacious is coming around that same length, and you're getting... Let me get the Tenacious out. You're getting the same... Or you're getting... Actually, a totally different knife. So if we're looking here, here's your Tenacious, much more cutting edge. Ergonomically speaking, the Tenacious is stronger, but it's a larger knife, right? This is more of like a discreet guy in your pocket with something sticking out like crazy here. They're two different routes. If you were to go with the Tenacious versus the Astute, it's just two different routes. You're not really gaining one over the other. The Tenacious is something you're going to take to work in like a laborious. You're going to be cutting down cardboard. You can do a lot more heavy tasks with the Tenacious just by virtue of the nature that you've got the ergonomic benefit there. Now, when I say ergonomic benefit, I'm talking the difference between a smaller knife and a larger knife. It's hard to compare ergonomics because on a smaller knife, if you can get a full finger purchase on it, that's pretty nice in itself for a smaller knife. And you're locked in pretty well here, but I don't feel like I'm going to be doing, heavy duty cardboard cutting or anything like that. Whereas on this one, I feel like it's not going to affect me too much. So, yeah, my overall thoughts on this knife, complaints, I don't have too many. I don't like the pocket clip, but I feel like if you were to, do something else with it, I don't know what that would do to the ergonomics. I feel like it would really screw it up if you tried to put something else on there. The blade steel, HCR13 MOV, that's another thing to note. You got Civivis and CJRBs using this D2 steel, which, in my opinion, over 8CR13 MOV is leaps and bounds better. 9CR18 MOV is leaps and bounds better. You're definitely stainless with the 9CR18 MOV, and you have a little bit more carbon content to have a little bit better of an edge retention. The D2, your edge retention is through the roof. I don't remember what the chromium content on D2 is, but it's actually very, very low. But I mean, I had an ACR13 MOV blade rust on me this week after just a week of carrying it. Maybe I could have pickled, but that is what it is. So you're not really gaining anything with this steel at that price point. I feel like you should have went with D2 steel there. So that's a complaint. That and the pocket clip are the real complaints. The action on it is fantastic. The access to the thumb hole is great once you get used to it. It's not something you have to do anything extraordinary. You just got to get used to the feel. It's a smaller knife. It's fat down here. You get skinny over here, and so you just got to get used to that feeling. Excuse me. I'll do some cut tests in a part 2 video that I'm going to try to do for the knives that I care about, like the James Brand Folsom. I'm not going to do a cut test with that. I've had it too long. The factory edge is damn near gone, etc., etc., etc. Insert excuse here. So this is your Spyderco Astute. The fit and finish, just to kind of finish this off, is pretty darn good. The lockup, you're looking at about 50%, which is nice. Got a lot of options when it comes to the pocket clip. So the good things about this is snappy. This is an awesome blade. You're getting a lot of blade for a little knife. It's a good fifth pocket folding knife, and it's a good all-around knife. Could they have upgraded the blade steel? For sure. Could they have tried to do something a little bit different with this? I don't know. It's just the ergonomic lines that are there. But that's all I got for you guys for this one. I will be doing some cut tests in the following video. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. This is a Spyderco Astute. Can I recommend it? For sure. For 45 bucks, if you're into Spydercos, get it. It's a solid buy. Just know that you're getting the lower end steel and a pocket clip that's going to annoy the shit out of you if that annoys the shit out of you. Everything else about this knife is fantastic. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, have a great freaking day. Thanks.